It was during COVID, during the lockdown, and I was watching far too much TV news, and I started to wonder why so many people in hospital with COVID were being placed into a coma, a medically induced coma. And I just wondered, is this idle curiosity? I mean, is it like being in stasis in a sci-fi movie or something? And can they dream? So I just looked into it, and I mean, the first explanation that Google would give you is that coma is an essential tool in critical care and has been for the last 50 years. It enables a deeper, more restorative sleep that allows the drugs and nature to do their bit. That's the official story. The actual story is something quite different, and I only found that out because I'm a journalist. I don't take the first answer as gospel. I just had to look a bit further, and I had time on my hands. So I found some coma survivors via Facebook groups, and I was allowed to sit and watch what people were posting on this group, not to comment, not to contact them. And people were referring to their coma dreams. You can't dream in a coma because your brain's switched off. We can get into that. And the things they were experiencing, some people were having horrendous, I mean, off the scale, not like anything Hollywood could ever come up with, so horrific events within their coma. Some people were having the classic near-death experience, you know, the beautiful core elements. And others, and this is the one that really blew me away, other people were recounting alternate lives or possibly even past lives. And whilst they might be in a coma for, say, 2 weeks, an entire lifetime may pass within their coma. They get, you know, they get married, they have kids, they go on vacation, they hold down jobs, they have a full life, and they wake up back in this world, and they don't recognize this world. They don't recognize these people claiming to be their family, holding their hands and weeping with joy that they've opened their eyes. They don't know who they are, and oftentimes that never comes back. And they just have to find themselves playing along. So hold on a second. The official storyline and what people were actually saying about their events within coma was just so different that I was suddenly hooked. And I don't even know what I had in mind. I certainly didn't think to write a book at that point. But I just had to keep exploring. And over time, it's fair to say that an awful lot of coma survivors, particularly those that have had those distressing incidents, are suffering from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. I've had it myself as a journo, and so I can recognise it in others. And you don't just dive straight in and ask people awkward questions. You need to get their confidence. So in many cases, it took me months to get people to actually open up and tell me things that they'd never told their family, their nearest and dearest. And I became so attached to these people. And I just couldn't let go, and I had to tell their story. And the one thing almost every one of them will say is, within my coma, the events within my coma led me to believe I'd gone mad. Every single one of them more or less has said that. But those that have had horrendous things just want to keep it to themselves. But fortunately, I managed to get people to open up, and they did so in the hope of showing other people that they're not alone. There's various mechanisms that are kind of obvious. Now, if we just stick with the whole level of being in intensive care, you don't even need to be into a coma before your reality starts to change. And it's changing because of sensory deprivation. There's nothing to stimulate your mind. There's nothing to look at, for example. You're not getting the human contact that you would wish, and you're not getting sleep, so you're into sleep deprivation. It doesn't take long for sleep deprivation to cause real damage to your mind. So you can be in hospital, in intensive care, horribly unwell, and you're experiencing all manner of things. You're seeing animals in the room. You might think yourself in a different location on a cruise ship, drinking margaritas, for example. But when people go into a coma, when they're sent deeply down, it's supposed to be a blank. This is what every doctor will tell you. It's a blank. You can't remember anything because your brain's not capable of remembering. You can't add new memories for the same reasons. And yet people were giving me accounts that were so detailed, so vivid, and so real and full of emotion and feelings and all the rest of it. I mean, it just blew me away. So what's happening there? I mean, to cut to the chase, I believe two specific things are happening. There's a part of the brain called the default mode network, and it was only discovered just over 15 years ago. And it's the part of the brain that regulates our conscious reality. Now, you can switch it off with psychedelics, you can switch it off with transcendental meditation and various other means. And it's been demonstrated that the Coma cocktail switches off the default mode network fairly early on, and that allows for an expansion of consciousness, akin to the sort of things you might experience on LSD, for example, or ayahuasca. And then, talking of drugs, the human body produces its own psychedelic cocktail, a psychedelic compound called NN-DMT. Now, we don't know why the human body produces it. There's debate about where it's produced. People think the pineal gland, but it's not proven. And when you look at people who've experienced DMT in, say, scientific trials, Rick Strassman did them some years back, and when you talk to people who've been doing ayahuasca in, say, the Amazon, their accounts are so similar to the accounts people are experiencing within coma. Putting aside the alternate lives, people might see alternate lives, but they're not living it minute by minute. So I think these two elements, the switching off of the default mode network and the release of a naturally occurring psychedelic compound, is responsible for some of the things people experience. Why God, nature, the human body, or whatever would give us DMT is still an open question. Yeah, I came to the conclusion from all the research I did that consciousness is not a product of the human brain. That I'm actually of the belief that, although it's one of these things you just can't prove at this juncture, that I'm of the belief that the brain acts like a radio and it's receiving consciousness, and the particular frequency I'm on is my consciousness. My dog is on a different frequency, and I think that's what happens. Now, you can't go through your circadian rhythms when you're in a coma. Everything's switched off. If you're deeply down and you put somebody on a brain scanner, they're effectively flatlining. There's no activity, not like a dream where it's like a Christmas tree, it lights up. So where the hell are these things taking place? And you mentioned the fact that people, they have an out-of-body experiences. If you're having a general anesthetic on an operation, you're effectively in a coma. No one says that, but it's the same drugs, more or less. A number of people I spoke to found themselves staring at their bodies from the ceiling. Others were watching their bodies being taken down the corridor, and so on and so forth. And I think this is how your mind is not in the body, which is now switched off. Your mind is external to the body, and you're looking down at the person that's lying there. They may be covered in blood, and you're having all sorts of strange emotions about that person. But it's not fear half the time. It's not fear more than half the time.